Hello and welcome. In this tutorial we will be looking at how to install Windows 10 on a new computer. I will try and make this as basic as possible so even people with very little computer knowledge will be able to find this easy to follow. Before we get started, there is a list of things you need to make sure you have. You need a Windows 10 compatible computer, the one that you want to install Windows on. Make sure everything is plugged in and ready to go. You also need a Windows 10 license. This may have been provided with the computer in form of a sticker, or it could be a code sent to you by Microsoft. You could also have a Windows 10 license associated with your Microsoft account, if you have one. You also need a second computer with internet. It has to be running Windows 7 or later. You could borrow a friend's one if you don't have one. You also need either a blank USB or a blank DVD and DVD burner. Finally, you'll need an internet connection. So the first thing we have to do is download the Windows 10 installer. On a computer with internet, not the one you want to install Windows on, open your internet browser and Google Windows 10 install tool. Select the Windows 10 ISO Microsoft link. Make sure it is from Microsoft.com. Once the page loads, click the big blue Download Tool Now button, and if necessary, save it to your Downloads folder. When the file is downloaded, double-click it to run the Windows 10 install tool. Once the tool opens and loads, click Accept to continue. Once you see what do you want to do, select Create Installation Media, and then click Next. Now, when you see Select Language, Architecture and Edition, check the three options. Language. Ensure it shows your preferred language. If you're in Australia, choose English, United Kingdom. Edition. Windows 10 should be the only option there. Architecture. Almost all modern computers are 64-bit. However, some laptops or computers with less than 5 gigs of RAM run better on the 32-bit version. If you are unsure, just choose the both option. If any of the options are incorrect, untick the Use Recommended Options for this PC tick box, and then you'll be able to change it to the option you want. Next, you have to decide how you want to install Windows. You can either select USB, which will allow you to install Windows 10 directly from a USB, or ISO file, which will allow you to burn a DVD and install Windows from there. I recommend going with the USB option as it's a lot easier and solves hassles with having to use a DVD. Now you can click Next and it will create a Windows 10 install disk for you. Note that this is not installing Windows 10 on this computer, rather it is downloading it so that you can install it on your other computer. For people who chose the DVD option, you will have to burn the ISO image that the installer created to your DVD. To do this, open File Explorer and locate the ISO file that the install tool created. Right-click it, select Open With, and click Windows Disk Image Burner. Then, you can simply select your DVD burner from the Dropbox and click Burn. Now we are up to the next section, installing Windows 10 on your computer. Set up your new computer ready to be turned on. Make sure things such as mice, keyboard, monitors, etc. are all plugged in and ready to go. If you made a USB to install Windows, plug it in now. Power on the computer. If you burn to DVD, open the drive as soon as you can and insert the disk. You may have to force shut down the computer by holding the power button once you've put the disk in, as sometimes it takes longer for the DVD to load than it does for the computer to start up. If this is the case, once the computer has shut down and stopped making noise, wait 10 seconds and then turn the computer on again. Now you need to boot from your USB or DVD. The computer should automatically do this. If it doesn't, then consult your manufacturer on how to boot from the USB, or Google it with something like XYZ computer, how to boot from USB. If you run into any issues regarding this, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll try to get back to you. Now wait a few moments. If you see text such as press any key to boot from CD or DVD, be sure to press the key straight away. I recommend the spacebar to solve any issues. If all goes well, after a few moments, you should see a typical Windows 10 startup screen, a Windows logo or brand of your computer with spinning balls underneath. Eventually, you'll see this Windows Setup dialog. Check that the three options are correct. Language to install. This should already be good as you set this option in the install tool. Time and currency format. Check this. If you're in Australia, you're now able to select an English Australia option. Keyboard or input method. If you're using the English language, this should be set to US, unless you are in the United Kingdom. This is because UK use a different keyboard to the rest of the English-speaking world. Once these options are set, you can click Next. Then click the big Install Now button and wait for it to process your changes. Next, it will ask you to activate Windows. If your computer has a Windows 10 license sticker, or you have a code from Microsoft, enter it into the box. If you have yet to buy Windows 10 or your Windows subscription is on your Microsoft account, then click I don't have a product key. The next screen will ask you which edition of Windows you want to install. If you already have a Windows subscription or code, it should say what edition of Windows 10 you have. If you are getting a new install of Windows, then it depends on what your needs are. If you are a basic computer user, then Windows 10 Home should be good for you. If you're a student on a budget, then choose Windows 10 Education, as it will be cheaper for you. If you're an advanced computer user, such as an admin or someone who just likes playing with higher level settings, then you can choose Windows 10 Pro, keeping in mind this version does cost more. Do not select the N version, as this is a unique edition that is no longer used, and it has no real difference anyway. Click Next when you are done. The license agreement will appear in the next window. Tick the I accept the license terms box and click Next. Now, click Custom Install Windows Only. This will ensure a completely brand new install of Windows. Be aware that this process will delete everything on your hard drive, so if you had a previous OS installation, be sure to copy over anything you care about to another place. Also ensure that you only have one hard drive currently installed, otherwise these instructions may cause issues. On the next screen, if you see more than one drive entry, click Delete, followed by OK. Repeat this until there is only one entry. Drive 0 unallocated space. Now, click Next. Now sit back and relax as Windows installs on your computer. This process may take some time, so go find a good book and a cup of coffee. Your computer may reboot a few times, this is normal. After the long installation process, eventually the setup screen will appear and ask you to select your region. Find your country and click Yes. Next, it will ask you for your keyboard layout. Again, this should already be set, but make sure that it is correct. Remembering that for English-speaking people outside of the UK, select the US International keyboard option. Skip adding a second keyboard layout unless you use a second language. It will now go and do some more setting up, possibly rebooting a few times. When it gets to the account setup section, you have two choices. If you want to use your Microsoft account as your user, then enter your email, click Next, and enter your password. This is vital if you are activating Windows using your Microsoft account and you didn't enter the code earlier. If you don't want to associate your Microsoft account and you are using a code to activate Windows, then click the Offline Account button down the bottom left. You will have to click the Limited Experience button to proceed. Now enter a username, making it simple and easy to remember. Then click Next and enter a password. You will also have to enter 3 security questions to help in case you forget your password. Click Next when you're done. Now, Windows Setup will take us through some privacy settings. It's all up to you about what settings you choose here. Location. This option will allow Windows 10 to access your location. It will ask you every time an app wants to use it. Keep in mind this is required if you want to use apps that access the GPS. Find My Device. If you have a Microsoft account, this will allow you to see the last known location of your computer online. This option can be particularly useful for a laptop, but again will only work if you have a Microsoft account associated. Diagnostic data. This helps Microsoft by sending information anytime there is an issue with your computer, so that they can find a way to prevent that problem in the future. This does give away some information to Microsoft, so if you are security conscious, you might consider turning this off. inking and typing. This will help with handwriting accuracy and autocorrect suggestions by syncing with Microsoft. This does send small samples of words you make mistakes on commonly to Microsoft. Tailored experiences. This allows Microsoft suggestions to be targeted towards you. Advertising ID. This allows ads to be more relevant to you by tracking what you look at and showing you similar suggestions. When you've chosen all these items, click Next. The next screen will ask you if you want to use Cortana, which is a virtual assistant similar to Google Assistant or Siri. However, Microsoft has severely crippled Cortana's capabilities to the point where it is now basically just a voice search engine, so it isn't really worth enabling her at this point in time. However, it is up to you. That is all for the install section. Your computer will go off and do some final preparations to run Windows 10, and eventually you will be greeted with the Windows 10 desktop. Once you see the Windows desktop, you can safely eject your USB or remove your DVD from the drive. But we aren't finished yet. Now we need to ensure that your computer has all the updates and drivers that it requires to function. Section 3. Updating Windows. First off, you'll probably have a couple of Microsoft advertisements convincing you to use their great products. Get rid of them by clicking the Not Now button or something similar. Now let's go on to Windows Update. Open the Start menu and click Settings, the gear icon. Now scroll down to the bottom and click Update and Security category. It should be already, but just double check that you are in the Windows Update tab. Now click on the big Check for Updates button and wait for the updates to download. Eventually, when everything is done, you should have a Restart Now button. Make sure that there are no other downloads that say downloading or installing. Wait for everything to finish before restarting. If everything is good, then you can click the Restart Now button. Your computer will go ahead and install some updates. Again, this may take some time and your computer might restart, so be patient. Once it's done, you can log back in. Your computer may not be functioning properly still due to drivers not being installed. If your computer came with drivers, now is a good time to install them. We'll look at that in the next section. Section 3. Installing Windows drivers. The first step is to ensure that your computer is on and showing the Windows 10 desktop. Now find your drivers. They could have either been provided to you on a disk, or you'll have to download them from the internet. Generally, Windows 10 should provide drivers for everything. However, often drivers such as graphics cards require extra software, so it's a good idea to find some drivers from the manufacturer's website. You can do this by Googling something such as AMD Radeon RX 570 drivers for Windows 10. Make sure you get it from the manufacturer's website though, otherwise you could risk getting a virus. In this case, I'm using VirtualBox to run a virtual Windows 10 machine on my computer, so I'll insert the virtual drivers CD that Oracle provides me. Now, run the installer. This process varies for every driver, however most of the time it goes something like shown here. For specific help, feel free to leave a comment in the description and I'll try to get back to you. Find the source. If you downloaded it, look in the Downloads folder for the executable. If it's a DVD, find the DVD drive in My Computer. Now you can run the setup program. If you're in a CD or DVD, find a setup.exe or something similar in the root directory of the disk. Click on Yes if a user account control box pops up. Now you can simply go through the install wizard, remembering often it will ask you to accept some license terms, so make sure you do that if you're having trouble going to the next step. After this, reboot. If the installer doesn't automatically provide an option to reboot, then restart using the Start menu. This is very important, otherwise the drivers may not finish installing properly. All done! Now you have a fully functional Windows 10 computer. Thank you for watching this tutorial. Hopefully it made sense and was helpful. In a future video, I may look at different Windows 10 settings to make Windows 10 more bearable. If you like the idea, please leave a comment below. If you found this video useful, please like it, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Thank you for watching.